Okay, we are back.
We's back. All
We's
right. We's back.
okay. It's doing it again. Boom.
I don't know what to say. I guess they don't want us to have this conversation.
Okay, nah, it might be good now. Okay. I think it's good. I think. I, yeah. As soon as I thought it was good, it started glitching. What's up, y'all? If you're joining us again, we're running into technical issues trying to get this stream going. I guess they don't want black unity across the diaspora. And that's more of a reason why we should unify. Let's just roll, and if it gets bad, we'll stop the other channels. Right now we're streaming on okay, we're only streaming on Facebook and YouTube. The Instagram,
No.
yeah, I just cut off the Instagram because I think that might be the one because it was freezing on my side. Okay, Facebook and YouTube, I think we're good. Thank you guys for joining us again. Hopefully, we don't have to redo this, but as you can see, I'm joined by the lovely, the incomparable, the majestic, light skinned FBA herself, Miss Courtney Michelle Hawkins. How you doing?
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
all right.
I'm frustrated. I'm
Well,
frustrated, but you know what I'm
it's all
saying.
right.
We're gonna make it work.
We gonna let it make it do what it do.
We got to. We
We
got
got
to.
to. We have to.
That's one thing I admire about FBAs. You guys are resilient. You guys are patient. You guys are accommodating. You're kind.
All
You
the
set
above.
the tone. All the above. You know what I'm saying? You're
Yes.
wearing red. Y'all look good in red. So I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to learning and offering some of my insights as well. Um, you've recently kind of been heavy on the FBA train. Can you talk a little bit about like what happened, what inspired it, where are you coming from, what are some things you've been seeing that makes it more important now than ever to make that distinction about like being foundational Black American?
Um. So I think with me, it started doing YouTube.
Mm,
And particularly the panel that I was on, I just never seen so many people, so many coons,
mm,
and so many people that didn't like themselves. And I would say things, how come we're not on code and why bring others in our conversations? And
sure.
it was like no one could connect with me. And I was like, am I the only one that sees that, you know, saying that Black culture is trash or the community should burn? Like, I was like, this is like some weird stuff. And
Mm,
then I really realized, like, I was on panels with tethers.
mm. Could you just define what a tether is for the people who don't know?
Yeah, so a tether is usually someone that's an immigrant, Black immigrant over here, or an anchor baby
Okay.
that tries to cosplay as FBA, but really have no interest in our culture here in America, and tries
Mm,
to use it at the same way and also denigrate us.
mm.
So I say like a good tether would be
A good
someone,
tether.
a good,
A
a
good
good
tether. You a good tether. Who would
so like all
qualify?
right, like Kamala Harris, right?
Mm,
would be a tether because she acts as if she's a black woman, but she's not,
mm,
and tries to use that. And I cook turnip greens in the tub as if that's supposed to be relatable to us. But at the end of the day, she's clearly Indian. So that's what
mm.
it is. It's someone that wants to be like us, but then use it to our detriment. So I was on panels with a lot of tethers because I didn't understand how you can't connect with our culture. And the thing is, they can't.
Yeah.
If you're not from here, if you're not Black American, then our experience is obviously different. And so they have no connection to my culture.
Mm,
And that's what kind of got me like, okay, foundational Black American. And then talking and realizing that, we do have a culture. And I'm very proud to be born here, being Black. And I guess that's how I started.
So when you started kind of going down that rabbit hole, I guess what have you learned? How has your mindset shifted since before like identifying as FBA and then, like now?
Like, how has my mind shifted?
Hmm. Like as you've learned more information, as you've watched more videos, read more, like what have you kind of come across that's been the most compelling for you?
Um, I think the most compelling what I've seen in the things that I watch, the hatred that I think a lot of people that look like me but not me have for Black Americans.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Explain,
And
elaborate.
well, the stereotypes that white people would give us of you're just lazy and no good. Well, that's what a lot of people are told when they come over here. A lot of Black people that look like me but are not,
Mm,
are from Africa or from the Bahamas, the Caribbeans. When they come over here, they have the same white supremacy mindset.
mm,
And again, like all skin folk and kinfolk, well, that's legit and it's very, very true. And so
mm.
now learning about delineation and should that be a thing, I think that's what more of like I'm looking at and curious about.
So what would be the goal? And I mean, you can speak for yourself, or you can speak for like the
Uh-huh.
FBA movement. What would be the goal of that delineation?
I think that we haven't gatekeep our culture at all, and that we allow
Mm,
everyone to come here and we invite everybody to the picnic. But again, we invite people that could care less, really.
mm.
So, what that looks like is being proud of who we are and gatekeeping what we have. So, that's what it looks like to me.
What do you think are some like potential problems, issues, or challenges with that approach?
I don't think I see an issue with that approach.
Mm,
The challenge would be understanding like what a tether would be, or trying to come in to a culture that again they don't really care about or understand. So people are saying, yeah, I'm FBA, or trying to get reparations when they have no need or can't get reparations. So I mean the challenge again is gatekeeping when you look like me,
mm.
but a completely different mind state that I have because we come from different cultures.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What is? I mean, since I'm kind of like the resident non-FBA, what are some like curiosities you think FBAs have towards non-FBAs?
Do we have curiosities? Like, I don't know. Like, do you have curiosities about Black culture here in America? Do you think we have a culture?
Do I think we have a culture? Okay. Um, I'm not pausing because I don't have an answer. I'm pausing because like that's part of the conversation and like a video we're gonna share. So I don't know if I should
Okay,
share it
okay.
now or if
So,
I should. I'll just answer.
okay.
I, I was really interested in your definition of tether because it's something I've been called, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not necessarily offended by it, but I'm bothered by it because I think that paradoxically, I think diversity is Africa's biggest weakness, right?
Hmm.
I think on the continent you will find everything. You will find the most beautiful people in the world and the ugliest people in the world, the most intelligent people in the world and the dumbest people in the world. And because of
Hmm.
that genetic and cultural diversity, it's very hard for us to align on anything. And I think what's happening, and my concern with the FBA movement is we're continuing to fracture ourselves even further into smaller and smaller groups that are less and less interested in aligning on a shared interest, being stopping white supremacy, being getting out of under the white man's boot. And I think although I understand like making the distinction of saying like we do have a culture as African Americans, we do have our own unique food, our own unique language, even our own unique clothes, etc. That even inspires the world music and the whole nine.
Hmm.
I understand that, but I think disconnecting or disenfranchising that culture from the larger black diaspora, I think is a mistake. Um, and my curiosity is kind of like what I asked you. Do the potential benefits warrant the discord that is causing in the meantime?
I don't think that we've seen it where I could say it's beneficial because we haven't done it.
Mhm.
And I think it's interesting because now all of a sudden that we're saying that we want to delineate. And now it's like, well, you can't because this is diaspora, diaspora. But even in Africa, how come you're not saying that to the Sudanese? How
Mhm.
come you're not saying that to South Africans? How come you're not saying that in your own country where you have different tribes? Are you? It's you're already delineated,
Mhm.
and nothing or anyone in the diaspora or someone that's Pan Africanism that has ever said that. Hey, how come the Jamaicans don't get along with the Puerto Ricans? It's no one does.
Yeah.
But once it's us, once we start, then it's something where now let's have this conversation. What exactly is FBA? What is your lineage? You don't have a culture. And it's like, no, we do. And we want it to be respected. And to be honest, I think Black Americans is the most disrespected culture group of people worldwide. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with that, actually. I agree with that. I think the reason that is what's the Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um whether we say it enough, the rest of the black diaspora like looks to African Americans for um to set the tone, right? Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is the concept of blackness doesn't really exist on the continent, or it didn't exist on the continent until you guys introduced it. And you guys introducing it was in response to the concept of whiteness, which also didn't exist. Um, so, on the continent, to your point, we make delineations based on the equivalent of neighborhoods, right? We might both be black, we might both be from the same geographical area, we might both even speak the same language, but you are from this tribe, I'm from this tribe, you're from this village, I'm from that village. That's what's that's actually what's more authentically African. The
Mm-hmm.
you are my brother because we share the same skin tone. That is a black American concept.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to anything that deals with unity, I think we have, to your point, why don't we do it over there? Because like y'all set the tone there. So like we look to y'all to like to pioneer that new paradigm, because that's not something that comes naturally to us, unfortunately.
See, I don't. We have been the "you're my brother" thing that you said
Mm-hmm.
is that's what we have always done.
Mm-hmm.
We've always wanted to seem as if we have a connection to Africa,
Mm-hmm.
um, or to to learn more, but we get shunned.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll come over here and you'll take the resources that my ancestors fought for, and then you'll turn around and call us Akatas.
Mm. I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is true, and I don't think most of us look at it that way. Because I think a lot of us, number one, like I said, since we're not inherently pro-black, because that's not a concept that is familiar to us. We look at it not like these are rights that y'all fought for. We look at it as the white man granted us permission to enter his country, and y'all played a role in maybe some of the allowances we enjoy because they want to meet a certain moral quota, right? So now they use Nigerian doctors, they use Nigerian lawyers to say we have progressed the black community while ignoring the actual like black community, because we're kind of like the tokens. We're kind of the token students that they use to like validate ignoring their actual constituents, which is like black African Americans. And I think we come over here so like desperate to make it that we're not even thinking about y'all, to be honest. And then I think
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, which is where it gets even more complicated, unfortunately, a lot of our experiences with y'all are very negative at first, right? So something like playing the dozens, that's not something we do, right? So when
That's
I come over here, for instance, and the only people, and we talk about this like when we talk about like black men and black women, I come
mm-hmm.
over here and the only people who are nice to me, the only people who talk to me like I'm worth a damn, are white people. And I already have a white supremacist mindset on like just baseline. And then the
Mm-hmm.
people who look like me are antagonistic towards me, just like the people back home. Yeah, I'm not gonna be enthusiastic about like being down with the cause unless I have a transformative experience, whether I take an Africana studies course or I really dive deep into the history. But for the most part, I'm just out to get what I can because I'm an immigrant. I'm trying to do the best I can to feed my family back home, to make something out of myself, to take advantage of this great opportunity. And I think that's where a lot of it gets lost. And I think a lot of FBAs, unfortunately, don't understand the effect that a lot of y'all's tough love has on us in those initial stages when we first enter the country. And we're trying to learn the nuances of culture.
I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I don't see. We just don't go up. We do play the dozens. We,
Mm-hmm.
we roast, but we
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it. Just if you walking by, hey, let me roast you. You're from Africa. We don't do that. We roast when it's needed. That's what we do. And
As
but when you
as
come over here, it's like you said, we're not thinking about y'all. I disagree with that too.
mm,
Before you step foot on here, you're told not to mess with us. You're
mm,
told that you want to separate yourselves from Black Americans. So there is literally, once you come over here, you separate yourselves from us and call us lazy and think that, you guys, when you come over here, then you're just automatically going to be more successful than the Black American here, which I think is a fib. So you're told automatically that.
that's a point that comes up a lot, and I'll address it. But real quick, shout out to My brother Condemn you. Appreciate you, man. I'm trying to find the little sound effects. Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? There we go. Pause. Appreciate you, brother. I pray all has been well with you, my brother. I haven't caught one of your live streams in a while. Anyways, glad to hear your wisdom. I appreciate you, brother. I actually haven't been streaming that much, particularly because I've been working on a separate project, and also YouTube ain't paying. Like the amount of work that goes into YouTube and what comes out of it hasn't been worth it. So I've actually been reposting a lot of stuff on Facebook. Facebook been coming with the bag recently. So
Really?
yeah, Facebook is where it's at.
Oh, I
To
didn't.
keep, to keep this thing, sustainable, I've been posting clips over there, and from time to time, I do live streams. Like now, I think this conversation, especially with somebody like Miss Courtney Michelle, is so important. But other than that, man, I just been chilling, man. Trying to rehab my Achilles too. I don't know if you know, but I tore my Achilles in May. So,
You
uh,
didn't tell me that.
oh my bad. Yeah, I had surgery in May and everything. So I
Oh,
been trying to get back right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Um. Anyway, to respond to what you said, because it comes up a lot. The speech that a lot of Africans get before they come over here. I got that speech. I'll be transparent. I got that speech. My mom's older brother, he sat me down and he told me I was 7. He told me when we
wow.
get over there, don't associate with Black Americans. They're criminals. They are degenerate, et cetera, et cetera. Here is the thing I think we have to understand. Confirmation bias is a thing. And when I came to this country, we lived in Queens, New York first, and then from Queens we moved to the South. And if your worldview has already kind of been pre-shaped, you're going to default to that view before you look for information that contradicts it. So, like, a lot of us do come over here thinking that you guys are a certain way. I think, unfortunately, you also have to understand as an immigrant, you're starting from the bottom of the totem pole. So the people that you will interact with are also people at the bottom of the totem pole, right? And if you already have a certain idea of a certain group of people, and then you interact with the bottom of those group of people, it's like those group of people are all like that. Because you got to understand, like my mom had a degree in journalism, but when she came over here, all she could do was work at Dunkin' Donuts.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a master's degree, but when he came over here, all he can do was work. I think he was a taxi driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, I think the ignorance is on both sides because I think the kids that you run into at school who have been seeing African booty scratch on their TV and then they see an African, it's their opportunity to get off. And this is my experience, right? The adults who might be struggling working as a CNA or also working next to my mom at Dunkin' Donuts. This is an opportunity to like exert some power that white supremacy doesn't allow you to have because at least you're American. This black ass motherfucker is an immigrant, right? And they're African, and Africa has been a place that's been painted in such a poor light for so long. So I think a lot of uneducated FBA brothers and sisters take advantage of that opportunity to have some power over somebody. And this isn't just unique to FBAs. I mean, people in people in bad situations do it all the time. It's like, we both broke, but I look better than you. We both broke, but I get more bitches. We both broke, but my car is better. And we start comparing these things. And one of the ways we do that is the distinction between being American and being not American. And I think what makes it more complicated is as those Africans move up in the world, they're gonna maintain what their uncle told them before they got here, and then those poor experiences they got or they had after they got here, unless there's an intentional and deliberate effort to learn the history. And a lot of people, including FBAs, don't know the history. That's just the truth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I hear you. I have never seen us try to have some kind of dominance off African people because we look at you like a, and that's my experience, not to
Sure.
take away from yours. And if you have been a part of that, then that's yours. But I haven't seen it as a whole that has been around Black folks my whole entire life.
Mhm.
That when we see Africans, we have this white supremacy over them. We look at you like us, or we did, until we figured out that you aren't like us. And so now we've decided to stop trying to be with you guys like, we're the same and understand that we're different and love you, of course, but still try to keep our culture and know that we're different and we see you now. And all the stuff that your parents didn't want you to come over here and get your little FBA woman. Okay, then. Stay your ass over there then. Okay, we criminals, but I'm not even
What
going.
what 1 second, and I'll respond. Shout out to the brother one more another $100. He said, I didn't say anyways. I said always. Glad to hear your wisdom. Put some respect on your work, sir. Always for the also kicking in for the Achilles heel fund. I appreciate it, brother. It's been it's been a struggle. It's been, and I'm back to trying to box again. So like without this right Achilles, I ain't got no power, man. I get my ass whooped right now, but I'm still pushing. I'm still pushing. What is your Facebook so I can support you over there? It's the same, man. It's just we need to talk, one word. I think it might have the handle at WNT Talk also. I'm not 100% sure. The Facebook actually just hit 48,000.
All
I'm saying so.
right.
Yeah, it's moving a little bit.
Yes, doing the
Yeah,
thing.
appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Um, to respond to you, I think the best thing that we can do, which goes back to my initial question, is lead with curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is true for the male female conversation that we've beat like a dead horse. I think it's definitely true here, right? Because just as a consequence of you not being African and as a consequence of me not being American, our perspectives are limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things I've experienced as as a non FBA that you might not know about, right? Or you might have better context for than I did, which means it affected me differently. Like I didn't know the concept of the dozens or Jonin until fairly recently. So how do you think it affected me as a third, fourth, fifth, sixth grader who didn't know what the hell was going on? As a cultural thing, I just thought these people just didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I had the alternative of white people to compare it to, right? So I think understanding that for, FBAs to understand that, okay, maybe they didn't have the best experience with us. And not necessarily saying that what they experienced with us is representative of all of us, but y'all know it's some niggas. It's some niggas in the world. Yeah, you know, it's some people who are irresponsible. There are people who represent the culture poorly, and unfortunately, like I said, because of the social economic place we have to start from as African immigrants, that's the majority of people we interface with, and we also have that bias of this is what they're supposed to be like. So I don't meet a Courtney Michelle until I'm in my 30s because all I met were niggas in elementary school and then in middle school and then in high school and then in college. And God forbid I go to a HBCU and I still don't understand what's going on. That's gonna be that's gonna be a difficult experience, right? So and then on the African side, I think it's also incumbent upon us to understand or to seek out the understanding of you guys' history, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
things that inform cultural features like Jonan, cultural features like the dozens as a way to build resilience for like what you're gonna face in the world. We don't know that. I remember like having to ask my mom, like, can I fight this kid that was like said something about you? I had no idea about your mama jokes. And then I see on MTV, it's a whole show.
So sure.
You see what I'm saying? But in Nigeria, somebody says something about your mom. That is a fireable offense. Like we
Hmm.
gonna die. I'm gonna kill you. You gonna kill me, right? So I think there's ignorance on both sides, and I wish there was a little bit more curiosity about what is the African perspective when they touch down and they see people who also look like them but aren't as embracing as they thought they should be, which is similar to what we experienced back home. And then what's the experience of African Americans who are like, he looks like me, but he seems kind of standoffish, or she seems kind of, she's got her nose in the air. She thinks she's better than everybody. Why is that? You know?
I'm disagreeing on that part where we're not embracing when you touch down. Someone made a comment in there, and I remember, especially growing up in the 90s, where everything we rock was African.
Yep.
The African medallion, we here is the one that started afros. We was wearing dashi, we was doing it all, trying to relate. And again, never been a time where it's just like, oh, they're African, we need to separate. That is just now happening. But we have always tried to embrace and wear and welcome you. We have.
One of my favorite FBA phrases, and y'all say this to white people. It goes, "They love our rhythm, but not our blues."
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think what you're describing is the veneer of Africanness, the pageantry of Africanness. But and I can speak for myself in my own personal experience. I can speak for cousins, friends. I can speak for uncles who came over here in the 80s. That wasn't their experience. Feeling embraced, that wasn't their experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm not even necessarily going to say that that is entirely on you guys. I think there was like um, a communication barrier, a
Mm-hmm.
communication mix up. But I think the responsibility falls on both sides. Like I didn't know how to take y'all, and similarly, y'all didn't know how to take us either. But I think to say wholesale, we embraced each other. I
Well,
don't think
no,
that's true. I
but
don't.
how can you? I see that you're trying to be diplomatic with it. I'm not.
I know.
And I am putting the onus on African immigrants, particularly, they come over here because, like
Mhm.
you said, you're already have this perception of us even before you come. And the
Mhm.
perception that we have gotten has been you guys think you're better than us.
Mhm.
It's never been the other way. We don't think you're better. Again, I've always, like I said, I'm going to continue to say it, is that we did embrace you. And that's why the delineating, you can make that face, but that's why, because if we didn't, we would have already delineated. We would have already, if we didn't embrace you or want to have a connection with you, we would have already been, oh, y'all keep y'all ass over there. This is just now started because we just get tired of being rejected or feeling like, damn, you look like us, but you could give two shits about us.
I don't think that's fair, Courtney. I'll give you another example.
All right.
When I was in college and I started We Need to Talk, this girl that when I was over NAACP, she was my vice president. She would
Mhm.
always tell me, "You don't look African." And to the untrained eye, it seems like a compliment until I asked her, "Okay, can you give me an example of somebody who looks African?" And uh, she pointed out one of our basketball players. He was tall, lanky, sometimes ashy. Um, he wasn't necessarily a good looking dude, right? So the compliment was kind of backhanded because I am African, like I'm literally African,
Mhm.
but her concept of what African wasn't a, maybe she thought I was attractive or well put together or articulate or not ashy, whatever the case may be. That was her concept. Now, if that was just a one off thing, I would be like, okay, that's a one off thing. I've heard this several times. Even my barber, he's like, man, you don't look African. Who do you think looks African? And then they name the most dusty person they can think of. So I don't know how to reconcile the idea that you were embracing of us while simultaneously associating what we look like and what we act like with ugly or ashy or uncivilized or a lot of the tropes that were given to us on a global scale by white supremacy. Like that exists too. And I know like for people like you who are deeply pro black, that's not your reality.
Mhm.
But you are the minority. Most black folks, just like you say, black all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That
Mhm.
includes FBAs. Most black folks are not conscious at all. Most black folks do not think before they speak. Most black folks are simply trying to get ahead, and getting ahead sometimes means at least I'm better than this person, or at least even in my suffering, I'm still like more beautiful, more something than this person. And for a very long time, up until now, being African moved you down the black totem pole because your hair isn't as nice, your skin isn't as light, your speech isn't as slick. You can't like it's I tell people all the time, like whenever like I meet a woman and she's excited by the fact that I'm African, it actually turns me off. Because I
Okay.
remember when I used to have to hide it.
Mm.
It's just recently with Burna Boy, even though he didn't fucked up. But with the Davidos and those people, like now we can play our music like proudly. But back in the day, like when we were shooting in the gym, it wasn't a glamorous celebrated thing to be African. And it wasn't because of white folks, it's because of y'all. And we have to make space for that conversation.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Can you go to a store and look at someone and can tell that they're from Africa?
I used to think I could, but I can't. No. I've been wrong so many times. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I used to think I
Because
could. I really did.
I can
Well, I
understand.
oh, I could tell one group South African women like that I could tell.
Okay, well, it's
South
an
Af-
aesthetic. They have a look. There's different. You can tell us about it.
it's not. Nah, it's not a forehead.
I don't know. Whatever.
It's
I'm
not.
just saying
That was not what I'm talking about.
it can be a look like I can tell someone. I don't know. I don't think it has to necessarily be where someone was trying to hurt you or make you feel like this. You don't look African.
But that's what I'm saying. It was a she was giving me a
A
compliment.
compliment,
She
but it
was
was a
saying I
backhanded
don't
compliment.
look at exactly. It's like saying you speak well. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of how I took it. Like you don't. I am African. Why don't I look African? What do you think African looks like? Oh,
Hmm.
like this nigga. You know what I'm saying? So it was a compliment. She thought she was giving me a compliment, but it really wasn't a compliment.
Oh. Hmm. I'm
And that
trying to remember.
and again, that's my experience as somebody who quote unquote doesn't look African. Can you
Hmm.
imagine for the Africans who actually look African? They get it bad. They get it really, really bad.
Well, I can say that the first time that I met you, that never crossed my head that you was African. And I just, again, how most of us just thought you was a black man, which you are. But I didn't know, oh, he's Nigerian. I just thought you was like me,
Yeah,
FBA.
yeah.
But now I know that you're not.
I'm not. I'm an imposter.
And now I got to delineate from your ass.
I speaking of the delineation because I think that's important. I think using Nigeria as an example, um, we have so many ethnic groups, we have so many languages, we have so many distinctions between within those languages, that I think it makes us so easy to dominate. Because all
Mhm.
you have to do is come in and divide and conquer, or not even divide. Like a lot of people mistakenly say white people came in and divided people. No, they just came in and leveraged already existing divisions, right? So, like using Rwanda as an example, when you read about the Rwandan genocide, there are two large ethnic groups in Rwanda: the Hutus and the Tutsis.
Right.
The Tutsis are skinny, tall. The current president, Paul Kagame, he's a Tutsi, right?
Mhm.
That's basically what they look like for the most part. When the Belgians came in, they took a liking to the Tutsis, even though the Tutsis were the minority. They were like, oh, these guys look tall, elegant, almost Egyptian. So because they took a liking to the Tutsis, they put them in charge of that area. Now, what happens over years and years and years? Obviously, some of the people in charge abuse their power. Some of the people in charge probably abused the Hutus, but the Hutus were the majority. So then you fast forward to 1994, and the Hutu president gets assassinated, and the Hutus think that the Tutsis did it. In 100 days, they kill what, 3 million of them?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we just start the story from, oh, it's because of the president was killed or black folks are violent. No, this is a history of two ethnic groups that were beefing already. White people came in, escalated the beef, and it led to, even till this day, everything happening in the Congo also links to the Hutus and the Tutsis.
Mhm.
So I say all that to say that when I look at like white history and I look at black history, and when I say black history, I mean like African history, white people and Asians were preoccupied with conquest. And often we look at that through a negative lens of, they're insecure, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera. But what we don't realize is that conquest, even though it rapes and pillages, it also homogenizes. It creates unity in a fucked up way, but unity amongst a large group of people. People would say, like, certain percentage of the population has Attila the Hun's DNA, right? Africa, on the other hand, because we didn't have a need for conquest, everybody was creating their own kingdoms within kingdoms within kingdoms. So we
Mhm.
were fractured. Like one of the sayings in Igbo land is, Indi Igbo, where is it? I'm probably butchering that, but Igbos don't have a king. And we look at all these things like with through a flowery lens, but like ironically, kingdoms or conquest or conquering, etc. Even though there's some negative to it, there's also positive because it creates cohesion. It creates like identity, and we continue to just create many identities within identities. For example, FBA,
Mhm.
and that's my issue.
You think it's a created identity?
Yes, I think it's
Mhm.
valid. I think it's valid to say here is how this subgroup of black people have contributed to history on a global scale. I think starting to what I see come out of it with some people, I'm not saying all FBAs, but
Mhm.
like making the distinction, like my brother at Daily Wrap Up Crew, during the conversation with the brother he had on, he said that African Americans have more pedigree. And even though I understand where he's getting at, but
Mhm.
that's not true. That's to start making that distinction. We're better than you in this way is simply not true. Because Africans doing the same thing just because we come over here and get a bunch of degrees, that's also not true.
Yeah, I know that. But I don't think it's a made up identity at all. And
Okay.
I think that's what makes it frustrating. And I think it's extremely disrespectful.
Mm.
that we are foundational Black Americans. We have been here since before America even started. We are really the true natives here, along with, I mean, indigenous people, which some Black folks was already here with indigenous people.
Mm.
And this is just the truth. And I just think people or Africans are getting upset, which is it's interesting to me because when we say I'm proud to be a Black American, but what about your African heritage? I don't know nothing about Africa. My
Mm.
family, born, raised, died here, created America. And so this is where I am connected to. But no one says that to Jamaicans. No one says that to Haitians. No one says that to Dominicans. No one cares if they have this closeness to Africa. It's only on foundational Black Americans. And that is odd to me. We're proud, just like Jamaicans are proud.
Mm.
But why are you not over there? You saying that to Jamaicans and Haitians? It's are they made up? Is that a made up identity being Jamaican?
Yes, it is.
You want all to be African.
I think I think being Nigerian is a made up identity, right? I think that part of the reason why I think you guys get so much backlash, for lack of a better term, is because on a global scale, y'all are one of the most significant Black communities, if not the most significant Black community. So with that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we expect more from you than Haitians and Jamaicans. We just do. We expect more from you than the UK Black folks, right? Like what a lot of people don't know, and I always kind of talk about this to make this full circle um, Pan African link is South Africa, for example, got a lot of its cues and its notes about what it did here from what it did in South Africa as far as apartheid from
Yeah.
what white folks did here.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nelson Mandelas of the world got their cues on how to fight it from what the civil rights movement and the Black Panther Party and
Yeah.
what y'all did there. Even in Nigeria, when my group of people, the Biafrans, try to secede, if you literally Google the Biafran flag, it's just a Pan African flag that Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican in New York, came up with a sun in the middle, right? So y'all have been inspiring us since time immemorial, right? And obviously, there's the genetic link of like y'all come from us, but then y'all inspire even the Burner Boys of the world. He dresses like a rapper,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, kind of like I said, I think it's a mistake for Africans to evaluate African Americans based on the lowest common denominator. And I similarly think it's a mistake for African Americans to evaluate Africans on the lowest common denominator. Like a lot of the people that you're talking about who look down on y'all or who stick their noses up at African Americans, like those people should not be representative of the African. I think that's a mistake. Even if I can sit here and say, yeah, Nigerians are some pompous assholes. We are. We're raised to think we're better than everybody, but it's not even an authentic thing. It's like a fake
Mm-hmm.
it till you make it. It's a veneer of confidence, just like Burner Boy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, like I said, if we lead with that confidence, if we I'm sorry, that curiosity, if we lead with that like introspection and trying to get to the core of okay, why do they act like that? And that's on both sides. There's a lot of things y'all do. Like I said, as a kid, I didn't understand, but I had to research and have conversations and have good faith to get to the point where oh, okay, he wasn't saying my mom was a hoe. He was trying to make friends. You see what I'm saying?
I,
But
I,
that's what's necessary.
I want to go back to this made up identity though.
Okay.
And I don't think you answered. How is it made up?
I'm gonna piggyback off of one of the clips that I'm going to play.
Okay.
And I won't even answer FBA being a made up identity. I'm going to answer Nigerian being a made up identity. As you can see, my name's Alan. My mom named me after some white dude. I don't even know the white dude, but she liked the name Alan. That's why my name's Alan. I don't even think I look like an Alan, but hey, whatever. Um, Nigeria was a name given to people of that part of Africa by the side chick of a white dude named Lord Lugard.
Hmm.
Um, Now, if you know anything about like the scramble for Africa, the Berlin Conference, a lot of how the African borders were drawn were very strategic. How can we group people who don't get along, who don't like each other, who have already existing beefs in a way that is advantageous for us? And as far as Nigeria is concerned, it's oil, it's natural resources, etc. Same with the Congo, same with Uganda, South Africa, etc. So when I understood that, um, naturally I thought, okay, if we're ever going to have a chance at being anything, we're going to have to define our identity for ourselves as opposed to simply accept the identity that was given to us through trauma.
Hmm.
And the identity of Nigerian was an identity given to us by white people through trauma. The identity of African American is also an identity given to y'all by white people through trauma. The distinction of taking you from one place and taking you to another place was a distinction made by people who are not you. And I think that whether Nigerian, Ghanaian, South African, uh, African American, I think once we understand that and stop leaning into what you know they telling us our name is Toby, if we stop leaning into that, I think we can then come together on shared values. We come together on shared identity, a common enemy, as opposed to these little distinctions about where our boat landed or where, you know what I'm saying, where we, the trauma that we endured, etc.
You realize that there was black people here before the Atlantic slave trade.
You know,
It's either true or not true.
I won't go too deep on that only because what I know that conflicts that is greater than what I know that supports that. And I like to be balanced and fair. But I would say that the overwhelming evidence that I've been exposed to shows that there were people who looked black, kind of like, Indians. Some Indians, actually, the majority of Indians have skin just as dark as me, but we wouldn't call them black. Some Melanesians, we also wouldn't call them black. And what I also know is some black folks, some descendants of the transatlantic slavery,
Hmm.
slave trade, rather than identifying with being the consequence of trauma, um, grandma didn't say that she was mixed. She said she was Indian. So that's what I know. I don't know enough about the we were here before this. So, I can't speak intelligently to refute that.
Well, what I know is that we were. What
Okay.
I know that they called a lot of the tribes in, names that were meaning black, i.e., Moors.
Mhm.
It was black. The the identity that they gave and how we looked, yeah, it was black skin, but also our nose, also our hair. We were black before the Atlantic slave trade. We were here. You
That
don't have to believe it, but it's true.
no, it's
And
not.
let's
It's
just
not
say,
that.
okay, then what is it?
No, it's not that I don't believe it. It's that, like I said, like the black distinction at certain points starts getting tricky because all the features you're talking about are also um, can also be seen amongst Melanesians, Polynesians, some Indians, um, but we wouldn't consider them black. So for me, when I think of black, I think primarily West African, to be honest with you, because like on the east side, they were conquered by the Arabs for a very long time. So they are damn near 50-50. Um, so I would say like West and South, but for purposes of like the pro blackness, I think of like people connected to the transatlantic slave trade. So West Africa, people who came out of West Africa or remained in West Africa. And then the Congolese, it gets complicated because Congolese people, that's Central Africa. I,
I
I,
I
I don't.
think what you are doing is still trying to connect FBAs to Africa, where everyone is so-called African, if we want to call white people sorry, so
Yeah.
we can say that. But if Black people were here before the Atlantic slave trade, there's a lot of us that have no connection at all to Africa. And I think with you and a lot of Africans, you hate when we say that because you want us to be connected so bad when a lot we're not. We're not.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the same. It's the same issue that I had with "You Don't Look African." I think the reality is, whether we want to confront it or not, um, the branding and marketing around Africa has been terrible. It's been absolutely terrible. It's been kids with flies on their faces and kwashoko, which makes your belly swell up, and
Mhm,
it's been huts and mud houses. It's been all that stuff.
mhm.
And initially, um, black folks' attempt to disassociate from Africa was, you know, we it's been a number of things. It was we're from Egypt, we're the original, so they skipped over west and they went straight to Egypt, even though there were empires that are older than the Egyptian empire in West Africa. It
Right.
was, we were already here. It was, we were Moors and we even came from Europe. It was anything to disassociate from Africa, not just to make the distinction, which I think is what you're doing, but to further denigrate the image of Africa. So it's like we are the shining star of people who look black, and we have nothing to do with the dark continent. And I think that's what rubs people the wrong way. Because like what if you guys are from Africa? What if the genealogy and the science behind you guys coming out of the bite of Biafra and the bite of Benin, what if that's true? Does that reduce, does that muddy, does that denigrate the image of what black people are in America and everything you guys have accomplished? Why is there such an effort to disassociate yourselves with Africa?
I think that you're taking it as rejection, as if we don't want to have a relationship.
Mhm.
Um, which I can understand where you would feel that way.
Mhm.
But again, it's disrespectful to say that we're something that we're not.
Mhm.
If my family has been here for over 500 years, what am I going to call myself? Not African, but American, Black American. But you're taking it as rejection, as if we don't want to be associated because being African is something negative. And that's not true. There's a whole lot of just FBAs that want to go back. And there was a whole big movement of going back to Africa. I mean, obviously, Marcus Garvey, RBG, like there was this huge movement But you rejected us over here. You didn't want us there. You still don't. In order for us to go to Africa and get citizenship in a lot of countries, you check to see if we have money first. We have to make sure that we go over there with a bag. You don't accept us. You don't do that to the white folk. White folk then came over there, the Chinese and came over there, took over. But in order for us to even try to get over there, you check our bank accounts.
I think I think that kind of goes back to the cultural education. So it's similar to when I come over here and I don't see black folks telling white folks your mama jokes, because part of
Well,
I
we
didn't see
don't.
it, right? Like part of the denigration is it involves familiarity, right? Just like in the hood, you don't see them shooting up white folks, you see them shooting up each other, right? And similarly, like the unfortunate reality is if me and you went to Nigeria right now,
Mm-hmm.
me being Nigerian, born there, raised there for a part of my life, you would get preferential treatment. I would get treatment if I could convince them I wasn't Nigerian, but we treat our own like shit.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we would treat you like shit compared to a white person, you're still above the average Nigerian. You're definitely above the average Nigerian who's in Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
and you're above the average Nigerian who left Nigeria. If y'all have the same amount of money, even if you have less, you can do more. So with that context, I think it's then easier to understand. No, it's not a we don't like you because you're African American. We don't like ourselves, and we like you or we don't like you less because you're African American. We'll give you better treatment because you're African American. We want you to come and run the comp. At one point, Nigeria paid expatriates, so foreigners who worked in the country, higher than anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is partly because Nigeria doesn't value Nigerians. We think our greatest resource is oil. Our greatest resource is people. We're the most populous African country in the world, and we produce great people all over the world, but in our own country. And that's because we are not acculturated to value ourselves. So what you're seeing as, we're looking down on you, nah, that's not special to you. That is, we look down on ourselves. And we will
But
look up to you more than we look up to ourselves.
that's a contradiction. How are you
It
looking up
is.
to me when?
It
But
is.
how are you looking up to me when you're told not to be around me?
It is a contradiction. It's paradoxical. We because as much as we hear about the 50 cents and the Bloods and the Crips, we also know about Ella Fitzgerald. We also know about uh, 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 Martin Luther King, Rachel, the musicians, civil rights league. We also know about that as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we end up in the same cognitive dissonance as white folks, where we have to like hold two realities at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Black people are people, but they can't be people. For us, it's the reality of African Americans are great, but African Americans are also like shitty. And because of, again, starting from the bottom of the totem pole, we don't get to interact with the great black people when we first get here. We interact with the niggas. So it reinforces a lot of our biases towards y'all, and also within ourselves. It reinforces our own self hate. Because to your point, what's ironic is what you described is the reality there too,
Mm-hmm.
right? The looking down on somebody because they are this. Back there, we look down because you're from a different tribe. We look down because you're dark skinned. In Africa, we look down on people because they're dark skinned.
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of that is already ingrained in us, and then we come over here and it's like, oh, it's just more of the same. It's just more people who look like me who are not kinfolk, and we just, we kind of run with that, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, yeah. Let's get into some of these clips because I think the conversation will even get sweeter from here. Before that, let me acknowledge some of these super chats. I've been doing a shitty job. Appreciate you guys supporting the stream. Uh, Inspirational Truth. He says the dozens is a cope and disorder that too many of us take pride in. The Africans that do make it here pass a filter, but are not all tethers. Appreciate it. We are not all tethers.
And the dozens is a disorder. I partake in it every day.
It's
Okay.
still a disorder.
I love the roast.
It's still a disorder.
No, it is not. It is a talent. Okay.
Stuart D. Knight, appreciate you, brother. Just straight love. Big Keith, he says, I think Africans have told us that we aren't the same. I do not think FBAs have ever wanted to dominate anyone. I think FBAs look to have kinship, and that was rejected. I was once Pan African. College changed that for me.
Hello.
It's a good point.
Hmm.
I think it's a good point, but I think it's also it's a graceful representation of Black folks. And if all Black folks were you and Courtney, I think it'd be fine. But like I always say, there's some niggas out here.
Well, yeah. Well, guess what? There's bad people everywhere.
Yep.
But we'll talk. Go ahead, read the super chat.
Big Keith, he also says, in my 40 years, I have never heard someone say they are better than African, but I've heard it the other way. The Nigerian Student Union literally had a meeting discussing this, and I was shocked.
That man's smart.
Which is why, again, just like we're talking about the dozens, if you understand the nuances of Nigerian culture, you will understand why it doesn't mean what you think it means. Nigerians, and I will say this with my whole chest,
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians are some of the most insecure people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And we compensate for that by getting a bunch of degrees, by making a bunch of money, by being everywhere. They're more, I think I saw a stat, there are more Nigerian doctors in New York than in the entire country, or in New York and LA combined. Right. So a country that defines itself by excellence outside the country is not an excellent country, in my opinion. Right. So a lot of these Nigerians that you see with this pseudo confidence, it's just that it's hollow. It's fictitious. A lot of us are sad inside, but don't even have the vocabulary or the space or the latitude to express that. A lot of us know that our cultural heritage is hollow. Like we don't know much about our own history deeply. Like one example of how this is, as above, so below, basically, is
Mm-hmm.
how there's a group of African Americans now saying that we were here before. There's a group of Nigerians, there's a group of Igbos who believe that they are Jews. They are the original Jews, despite all evidence pointing to the fact that Igbos had always been in southeastern Nigeria. But their entire identity is based on this idea that they're the lost tribe of Judah. So again, we the same. We be doing, and they
Got
got
those
facts.
Hebrew Israelites over here.
They got facts and data and all kinds of evidence to support that delusion as well. But I don't
Well,
buy it.
now, word on the street is that all these degrees that you say that those Nigerian people have are fake.
Some of them, some of them, some of them are
Mm-hmm.
fake. Yeah, I keep it a buck. Some of them are fake.
Yeah.
Oh, I skipped one. My bad. I grew up in Oakland. Pan Africanism was pushed on us. Avoiding tribalism was the goal. I think we are at a place where FBA will lose their fight and history if they do not delineate slavery made up. All right, Jason, he says Nigeria is a made up identity because the original tribal identities still exist. This is not true in America for FBAs, Jamaicans, Dominicans, etc.
Okay.
Big Keith, he says, I would love it if there was a flat blackness. I think that would change the world, but that has to be a group project. Great conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we'll need a flat blackness if we have a chance at standing up against flat whiteness, because they don't make those distinctions when it's wartime. Jason, he says that's not what she is saying. She is calling out the fact that a lot of genetic mixing has occurred since the slave trade. The white slavers didn't care whose skin color was dark. The same is true for Dominicans, Jamaicans, Brazilians, etc. Neosporin, he says 1 in 4
Hmm.
Africans are from Nigeria. They'll have more people than the U.S. by 2060 ish. So they said in the last couple of years, the birth rate in Nigeria has outpaced the birth rate in Europe, the
Hmm.
entire Europe. Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's, it's insane. Yeah, we be fucking over there for sure. Um, yeah, do Mariel, you're an embarrassment to Africans. I hope so. I hope so. Because too many of us lie, too many of us embellish the truth because we champion this, in my opinion, hollow definition of black identity. And because of that, we stand by our the identities that were given to us by our colonizers. And if I'm an embarrassment, I hope I'm doing something right. All right, let me play this real fast. You know this guy. You love this guy.
Oh God.
You know and love this guy. All right, let's check out what he had to say.
Good old Austin.
That thinks that black Americans are not related to Africans at all. I'm gonna tell you guys a couple stories. Every time I go out in a tank top and I'm going to the gym, I get stopped by the police in numerous African countries because they think I'm Nigerian. For the first time it happened in Kenya, it actually happened twice at the same place in Kenya whenever I was going into the mall. And the police followed me all the way into the mall and said, "Hey, come over here." They asked if do you smoke weed. I was like, "No." And then they was like, "I think you're lying. Let me see your ID." I was like, "Well, why do you want to see my ID?" "Because we think you're lying." "Well, where are you from? When is your visa supposed to be over?" And so I showed them my ID. I was like, "No, I'm from the U.S." And they're like, "Oh, okay. I thought you were Nigerian. You know, you look just like one of them." And that happened 2 times at the exact same mall. Then this time today, I'm leaving the gym in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I was standing on the street waiting on the Uber. I get into the Uber, and then as soon as I get into the Uber, the police pull us over, and they're asking the driver, "Yo, where is he from? Where is he from? Is he a Nigerian? Is he Nigerian?" "No, no, no. He's from America. He's from America." He's like, "You sure?" And they pulled over and pulled off. And he was like, "Yeah, that they were thinking that you were Nigerian. They were gonna try to get something out of you." And so that goes to show you. First of all, it's very strange that people think I'm Nigerian. I didn't know I looked that Nigerian. But for those FBA folks that say that we're not related to Africans at all, even the Africans look at us and they might not be um, mistaking us for the right country, but they at least know that we're one of them. So that kind of is a very delusional mindset to say that we're not even the same people. Let me know what you guys.
All right. The brother said, let him know what you think. So, what say you, Courtney?
What say I? I think
Say,
he sounds about slow.
okay.
I mean, him being thought that he was African in Africa and he's black, duh. But we are not the same at all. And it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay. And what I look like taking anything advice from Austin Holloman. I know. What say you, Alan?
I mean, it's two things for me. Um,
Runner.
number one, it goes back to the kids and ignorant black folks who like to make the distinction about, you know, African Americans look like a more polished blackness, right? The good hair and the light skin, the whole nine. All that stuff is over there as well, right? So the idea of the African look and the idea of it not actually being a good look is false. It's fiction. But the other thing that bothers me too is that Nigerians in particular, we've accumulated such a terrible reputation globally, that what he's experiencing is not uncommon, where you're being profiled because you look Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
It's also sad because of the what's the word, the xenophobia that's rampant across the continent, especially in South Africa. Like I've heard stories a few years ago that they were actually assaulting people who were non-South African, right? And in Nigeria, there's also the history of the Ghana Must Go movement. Like we were assaulting Ghanaians who are literally our next door neighbor. I think in like the 90s or the 80s or something like that. So, like I say, like there's a pattern of us distinguishing amongst ourselves and treating each other poorly because of these hollow definitions of
Mm-hmm.
blackness. Um, and I think it's just sad that it keeps on going. It keeps on going. Um, you want me to play the next one, or did you have another
No,
thought?
you can play the next one.
Bet. All right, here's where it gets good. So shout out to my brothers at the Daily Wrap Up crew. They had Zanu. What's his first name? Something Zanu.
Is it Frank?
Frank. I think it's Frank. Yeah, Frank
Yeah.
Zanu.
Mm-hmm.
On their show recently. Really good conversation. There were a lot that I agreed with, I disagreed with, I had an issue with some
Mm-hmm.
things. I think could have been better articulated, but I'm gonna play a few of the clips and then Courtney and I will talk about it. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, share this, tell a friend to tell a friend. Your support helps us a ton.
Alan, I've missed you.
I miss you too. I'm here. All right.
Yay.
Just listen to when I say there is no such thing as African American culture. Culture for me is not dance, food, clothing. Those are not cultures. Culture is a worldview. The worldview is what drives people. Their relationship to wealth, to money, to community, to marriage, to family. It's the worldview they have. That's the foundation of a culture. And number two, there is no possibility for you to have a culture without having a language. The traumatic thing about slavery is not merely asking you to work long hours. The Russians had hard labor camps in Siberia. Many countries, Japanese had it, where people work and they die. The traumatic thing about slavery is one thing only, which everyone has written about. They took our language away. They took our culture away. They took our history and religion away. That is a traumatic thing about being a slave. Now, if they took those things away, how and when were they recovered? They must listen to when I say there is no such.
What tell you?
You see my face.
I see it. I see it. I see it. What
Your
say you?
worldview comes from your culture. I
Mhm.
look at the world because of the culture I was raised in, because of the music, my food, how I communicate, how I dress, the Black church. All of that is my culture, which I get my worldview from. So he was completely backwards. And this idea of the worst part of slavery was they took your culture, they took your language. That wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing was they raped us. Our men was sodomized. Our men was completely and utterly disrespected in front of his family. They breed us. They would breed brothers with their mothers. Hence the word motherfucker. This is one of the worst things that
I didn't
happened,
know that.
separating us from our complete family.
Mm.
And the thing is, what happened? What happened? Well, it was an ethnogenesis. So we created our culture from being here, which we love, which we respect, and it is real. Our music is real that we've created: hip hop, jazz, rock, soul, R&B. That's us that created all that music. Our HBCUs is our culture. Our food, them yams, them turnip greens that we do on Thanksgiving. Our church is our culture. That's what we created. How I speak, the terms, the dozens. That's what we know. And that's what we respect. And the only thing as an FBA woman is that we want to be left alone with our culture and let us love it and let us grow. We had complete fucking neighborhoods, more than just Tulsa, that we wanted, owned our own bakes, our grocery stores. It was ours. But of course, every time we want or get something, it's not only white people that try to get rid of it or demolish it or degrade it. It's also people that look like us that can't realize that we are our own culture here and we want you to respect it.
Before I respond, I want to acknowledge Island Cloud. They say, I respect your efforts, Alan, but this conversation seems as useless as convincing Dominicans darker than you with hair nappier than yours that they're black. I know black, Poppy. Godfrey, the comedian.
I know black.
I know black.
I
I
know
know
black.
black.
Like no black.
So,
Fine. Don't be black. Don't monkey ass on. Go ahead. Sorry.
so I appreciate what he's trying to say. And that's how I felt the entire time watching the podcast. Like, even though I think his approach made his points hard to receive, I think he actually made really, really, really interesting points, because he also clarified that he doesn't only think African Americans don't have a culture. He also thinks Nigerians and Congolese people and South Africans and etc. He's from Benin. He also said Benin people don't have a culture, and then he elucidated upon that and explained how the identity of being Nigerian, the identity of being from Benin, etc., was given to us. Igbos have a culture. Yorubas have a culture. The Zulu have a culture, right? The Hutus have a culture, but like Sierra Leone doesn't have a culture. And I think that is a truth that I would argue is counterintuitive, but real, because the way that he defines culture, which I think is interesting, is not just a worldview, but also a purpose, right? So white folks, especially Americans, as flawed or as immoral as their culture is, manifest that as their purpose. They align themselves with this labor of civilizing the world, whatever that meant to them. Um, Asians, like the Japanese, their culture is around, uh, like the samurai code, the Bushido code during the samurai era. Chinese people, they have a certain like alignment. And I think the point he's making, which I think is interesting, is because we're so fractured as black folks, whether here or on the continent, we have no unified alignment. We just have a bunch of different alignments, but we have no unified alignment, which I think is something interesting to consider, because typically we just talk about culture from music and clothes and food and aesthetic. And I think it's interesting to say there's something deeper there. There is a mission statement necessary, right? From if you're looking at a company, right? There's a mission statement, there's a vision, there are pillars that
Mhm.
that identify. So I would say like the Nation of Islam have a culture. The Hasidic Jewish community in New York, they have a culture. Um, but I think that from his perspective, black folks, whether here or on the continent, do not have a culture, and I think that's a conversation worth exploring.
Yeah, because I totally disagree. And I think our culture is more than just the aesthetics. It's our experience. It's the fact that we created America. It's the civil rights. That's part of my culture.
Mhm.
The literary arts, Langston Hughes, that's part of my culture. God is good.
Sometimes
See, you're not part of the culture.
I did that on
That-
purpose. Courtney. Why would I say sometimes if I didn't know the thing?
You ain't know.
I didn't want to give you that.
But again, that's part of our culture. The Black church, even though we talk about religion all the time, but that is part of our culture.
Yeah.
And we do have it. And it's different from yours. I think it's disrespectful to say Nigerians don't have a culture. I said earlier today who's eating up that goosey. That's what you do. That's part of it. There is a dance, there's a movement. That is, you have a culture.
We don't.
Just because someone might have mentioned or given you your name, it's not that you couldn't or you didn't create something. Just because some of our ancestors, keyword some, came here through the transatlantic slave trade, it doesn't mean since then that from now we didn't create something of our own. So much so that the entire world tries to copy it. So much so that you talked about the Chinese and the samurais, but how hip hop is now created, or they're trying to create their own hip hop culture, where they even try to get perms to get their hair kinky. They steal from our culture, our inventions, how much they were stolen. But that's our culture. We are creators.
I think I don't disagree with you. I want to be clear. I don't disagree with you. The distinction I'm making is I think unfortunately, because it's something that he brought up. He was like, everything white people did, why was it so successful? I think a big reason why white people's conquests were so successful on us is because we had a different curriculum, right? Um, I think white people were playing chess, we were playing checkers, right? White people were shooting, we were boxing. And I say all that to say, even now we're talking about like AI and ChatGPT and VO3 and the whole nine, and these AI videos are misrepresenting black people, etc. I think it should be clear to us, particularly with the I don't know if you've heard of Suno. It's an AI music generator. They've used it to recreate Thriller. They've used it to create soul versions of rap songs, rap versions of soul songs.
Yes.
I think what it should be telling us is we don't actually own our culture, because the entire time we've been focused on being creators, they've been focused on being owners. They've been focused on synthesizing. Like if you look at even athletes, right? The black athlete, he's just naturally gifted. He runs a 4.4, he can jump out the gym, etc. And then the white guy, he studies the mechanics of jumping and the exit velocity of his shot when he shoots a three. And while we are so focused on leveraging our and the parallels are so like clear, we're so focused on leveraging our natural resources, they are focused on synthesizing it. I don't think it's a mistake. The heavyweight champion of the world is a white man now. The dunk champion is a white man, right? So a lot of the stuff that we think makes us special, they figured out how to recreate it. and they don't need us anymore. So really, it's a game of ownership. And the entire time we've been defining culture as our creativity, as opposed to our ability to hold on to our creativity, to leverage our creativity, to leverage our natural gifts. Um, they continue to dominate us, and I actually don't think it's their fault, because what else are they supposed to do? They don't have resources. We
Mm-hmm.
take ours for granted, from our diamonds to our people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that despite what he's saying being tough to hear, being even insulting for some people, I think it's an interesting thought experiment to maybe recalibrate how we evaluate our efficacy as a people group, and what it means to not just have a culture but have an effective one with a clear mission and vision and clear, I'm gonna use a corporate term, KPIs. What does it mean for our culture to be successful? Does it mean that our artists win Grammys, or that we create an award that is uniquely black that becomes superior to the Grammys? But I think because we celebrate culture by these superficial things, even our incentives for our culture are white institutions. The height of achievement as an actor is not a black award, it's the Academy Award. The height of
Mm-hmm.
achievement as a musician, including Burna Boy, is a Grammy. So you could talk all that pro black shit you want to talk, but at the end of the day, if the teacher giving you your grade and saying that you're special and that you've made it and that your food is good and your music is good and your fashion is good, if the teacher and the evaluator is still white, you're not pro black. And I would go as far as saying you have no culture. And not to say that, maybe to restate it, not that you don't have a culture, but you don't have a culture.
Who owns their culture then, if that's the case?
I think it is a really good question. I think that the people who own their culture are the people who are intentional about it. I would say the Jews are a very good example. I would say the
Mm-hmm.
Chinese are a very good example. I'd say the Japanese are a very good example. I'd say even right now, for those of you who are in the stocks, everybody's talking about AI and everybody's talking about NVIDIA. NVIDIA designs the chips
Mm-hmm.
that ChatGPT, Google uses to, do all this stuff. Now, the company that makes the chips that NVIDIA designs is called TSMC, Taiwanese Semiconductor Company or Factory or whatever. They are in Taiwan. And there's something happening right now. It's called the Silicon Shield, because China believes that Taiwan belongs to China, but they're not going to go take them because the entire world, including the EU and America, relies on TSMC's chips that Nvidia uses for Google and for AMD and the other companies. Um, so Taiwan knows that their continued investment into not just like silicon and the chip manufacturing process, but also training the talent, because making computer chips is a very complicated process, is their safety net on the global stage. So now, being a mathematician studying computer science is damn near part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And they own such a grip on the world that right now Trump's plan is to onshore some of the manufacturing of computer chips so they're not so reliant on Taiwan. The problem is Taiwan got it down to a science so much that even the factory that they just built in Arizona can't replicate the chips that Taiwan makes. So when I say
Mm-hmm.
have a culture, I mean like the ownership, I mean the agency. And for all intents and purposes, there is no agency in Nigerian culture. The agency is in the UK, and there really is an agency in Black culture because that belongs to the Jews.
Mm, I mean, I see where you're going with it. I do realize that every time we've tried to own, to create, well, not even create, but every time we've tried to own something, they've made laws to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I
The best
think,
interest.
what'd you say?
I said because it's in their best interest.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And another reason why you talk about, like, said, the Jews own their culture, or even the Chinese, is because they delineated from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
There's every city has a Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
There's some areas in Chinatown that you can't own because they keep it to themselves. And that's what FBAs are trying to do. Keep our culture as our culture. Until everybody else is trying to steal it, get the hell on.
Listen, if y'all can pull that off in the way that it needs to be pulled off, I will be the first person clapping. Unfortunately,
I don't hear. Unfortunately,
um,
what?
unfortunately, I think y'all are too much like us.
Well,
And
first
what
we gonna work on getting these reparations.
it's not gonna happen.
It's
Y'all
gonna
should. Y'all should. Y'all absolutely. I'll be the first person to sign, and I'm not entitled to none because I'm not FBA. But it's
That is
not gonna
correct.
happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
well, you have little faith. Okay.
No, it's not about.
They also said we wasn't gonna have any civil rights, that we'd be drinking all day from a white water fountain, that we'd be
But
staying in the
but
back of the bus, that they would red line and we couldn't move in areas wherever we
but
wanted to. They said
that
that too, now didn't they?
that brings up my overarching point. You brought up the Asian community. You brought up the Jewish community, the white community. To give credit where credit is due, I think one thing that they understand that we do not, and when I say we, I mean on a global scale, including
Mhm.
us as Africans, we don't understand the art of war. We
No, no.
don't we don't understand. I mean, we might read the books, but we not. There is a level of grimy that I don't know if black folks are capable of, but it's a level that is necessary for competition, right? I think that
Mm.
when you think about, for instance, the origins of Europeans or even the origins of Asians, they originate from hostile environments. It creates a
Mhm.
certain disposition. It creates a certain um, culture and priorities out of that culture. We do not. Our hostility is more recent. It's fairly recent. But as far as like nature being antagonistic towards us, that's not our source code. So I think there's a lot of ways that they move, whether it's the desire to conquer, whether it's manifest destiny, whether it's what did is it Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Mhm.
Black folks don't speak softly, and
It's
even
part
if
of
we
our
got it
culture.
exactly, and even if we have a big stick, we're not ready to use it. We're not willing to use it because we feel like we're the father and the mother of humanity. That's
Mhm.
to our detriment, right? And I think there's gonna take a level of introspection and dismantling of who we are that would be necessary for what the posture that we feel like we need to have. And I don't know if, based on how we've defined our culture, we're willing to divorce ourselves from um, our core values to that end.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, like to the reparations thing, it's not in the West's best interest to give Black folks reparations. It's just not.
Yes, it is.
Um, I would love to hear an argument, but I would say that when we re reinspect history through a critical lens, a lot of the victories that we won weren't necessarily moral victories as they were framed to be, but strategic PR victories. Because, like, Edmund Pettus Bridge, for instance, part of the reason that Dr. King allowed those people to get beat is because he knew it would air on TV, and those white women who thought they were good people would see their fellow human being getting beaten. And the foreigners who are being told that America is the savior of the world would also see Americans getting beaten, and it would look bad for America. So it was never about, okay, it's time for black folks to have rights. No, it was, if we're going to continue our conquest, we have to be strategic about how we look to the world. So unless there is a strategic angle that our delegation could come up with to justify reparations, it's not going to happen because it's supposed to.
Well, I think it is. I think that giving reparations, first, it is due. However, I think that it would stimulate the economy because we are here, not going anywhere. And I don't think we will be, nor do I care it's your money from your lineage. So how you spend it is how you spend it. However, it's going to circulate within the economy for growth. I think it's good all the way around.
You know why it's not good?
Why? Because you ain't getting it?
No, I'm not owed by this country.
No.
It's not good because the entire world's economy is predicated on black dysfunction. And black Americans are at the forefront of defining global culture and black culture more specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys do well, it collapses that entire system. It's the same reason why the president Ibrahim not Sore, what's his last name?
Mm-hmm.
Ibrahim Toure, the president of Burkina Faso, is the reason why he's had like 19 assassination attempts and he's only been in power for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because the entire world understands if Africa stands up, everything crumbles.
Yeah.
So to infuse the tastemaker of the global black community with that much capital is idiotic. Like, from the perspective of Europeans, from the perspective of France, from the perspective of the UK, from the perspective of China, who's now recolonizing Africa, that's idiotic. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like I said, I think Nate said once, he said, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And that's really what it boils down to. So I think, the best thing we can do is to be less fantastical about our expectations of white folks and actually like try to consider the world from their point of view. And if it's not in their best interest or if it's not going to make them look good, they're not going to do it, ultimately, unfortunately. But I mean, that's not to say you guys aren't owed it, because I will be the first person at the front of the line saying I've marched for reparations.
Really?
Yeah, I was in charge of NAACP at my university. I marched for reparations. I marched for the flag to get taken down before it got taken down, all that good stuff.
Mm.
But the more you like sit and you think about how the world actually works, just like I gave you the example with Taiwan, America don't give a shit about Taiwanese people. They care about what it does for them. They care about ChatGPT. They care about their cell phones. They don't give a shit about the Congolese people. They care about coltan. So I think black folks continue to engage the world on like terms of fairness, in terms of like, equity and all that good stuff. That's not how the world works. That is not how the world works. The world works on what's the value you have for me. And if you don't have any value, keep it pushing.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Let me play another video so we don't just keep, yapping. I keep yapping your ear off.
I'm used to it, Alan.
This is my starting point. It happened to us on the continent. So don't be fooled. You hear countries like Nigeria, Ghana. If you ask 5 Ghanaians, one from the Ashanti, one from the Ewe, the Ga, the Kwamu, and the northern region, and ask them, are you Ghanaians? Yes, we are Ghanaians. Look at our passport. Ask them, what is Ghanaian culture? And they'll start looking at each other. Ask them, what is the Ghanaian sense of value? There's no such thing. How do you guys marry in Ghana? There is no such thing. But you say you're Ghanaians. Jamaicans don't have a culture. Say the country Jamaica? No, there is not identifiable as a culture. The Rastafarians have a culture. Any society, if you want to understand them, it's the worldview. The Jews believe that they were put on earth as God's chosen people. That is a worldview. Now, any child told that, forget hurting one of them because they are driven by that. That is why they insist on having a community wherever they are. The Chinese, the white, community. Do Africans that come from the continent have a community? We don't. Why? Because we don't have a culture. This is my starting point. It happened to us on the continent.
All right. Thoughts on that point?
I mean, the thoughts is the same. The idea we don't have a community, Jamaicans don't have a culture, Jamaicans don't have. I wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah.
Because you do. Nigeria has a culture. Why not be proud of it? Because you say you don't own anything, or
that's a good question. That's a good question. So you said, why don't you be proud of it? Proud of what? So as a Nigerian,
okay.
Yeah, as a Nigerian,
so that's your culture. You tell me. Because I can tell you why I'm proud to be FBA. Even you said it at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We are a resilient people.
Mm-hmm.
We are a spiritual people.
Mm-hmm.
We are forgiving people, and that's usually to our detriment, but we are.
Yeah.
I'm proud that we fought and we continue to fight in spite of. I'm proud that we made it so people can come over here. It was because of us. So, I mean, I could go on, but I am proud to be FBA.
Mm-hmm.
You're not proud to be Nigerian?
No, not at all. And the older I get, the less proud I am. And I'll similarly go down a list of reasons why I'm not proud. Number one, the name Nigeria wasn't given by a Nigerian.
White
Number
woman.
two is white woman, not even his main chick. It was a side chick. Number two, Nigeria continues to be one of the most dysfunctional countries in the world. Even right now, I don't know if you've seen the news. There's a genocide of Christians happening in Nigeria.
It is.
Right. Mm-hmm. The Chibok girls a couple years ago, the 300-some girls who were kidnapped, the ones who were returned ended up complaining that they missed their husbands. Like that's the cycle of trauma that is commonplace in that country. Nigeria is a place where if you get robbed, if you get kidnapped, the nigga robbing you probably graduated college top of his class, but is robbing you because there are no opportunities available for even college graduates. Like I said earlier, Nigeria is one of the countries that pays expatriates amongst the highest fees, salaries, when their own people who can do the jobs even better are looked over and forced to become criminals. What's there to be proud of? Our food and our clothes and our dances? So I urge other Nigerians, I urge Black folks to be more critical about who we are, because I think we continue to pacify ourselves with the positive aspects and, in my opinion, the superficial aspects of who we are. But at the core, what do we have? What do we have to show for all the suffering that we've endured? What do we have to show for the fact that I'm claiming to be a Nigerian. The most successful Nigerians don't live in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So like, I think when we get to that point and
So,
we can tell those truths, I think we can start moving in the right direction.
but if you're not proud of who you are, then what does that do to your psyche as your self-esteem?
Well, I look at it through a masculine lens of I'm not proud of my body, so I'll go to the gym. Right? I saw this video about like how men work out versus how women work out, and women work out in a very affirming way, like I'm a lovely woman. I love myself. I'm sexy. And men, on the other hand, we're like, nigga, you ain't shit. You better grow, bitch. Like, and that's we look at self improvement as literally the process of breaking it down to its very essence and building it back up. And I think in our community in particular, that's what's missing. I think we
Mm-hmm.
continue to pacify ourselves with pleasant truths, and it allows us to procrastinate on the work that actually needs to be done because, like, oh, African women are beautiful, and African artists are winning Grammys, and the last Miss World was African. That means nothing. That's more white people patting us on our heads and saying, "Good job. Close your eyes. Get on your knees, so I can continue to rob you." And we
Mm-hmm.
take pride in that, and we gladly participate in the process of our own exploitation. That's nothing to be proud of. The dream of the average. You know how America talks about the American dream. Do you know what the Nigerian dream is?
To get
The
a green card.
Nigerian dream is to leave Nigeria.
That's what I said. To get a green. Come on,
Get the,
come
get
over
the,
here.
get the, yes, the Nigerian dream is and it's so bad that people right now are dying on a pilgrimage from Nigeria through the Sahara Desert to get to France, and they're dying in Syria and on the desert, and they're in the Mediterranean. They're going on floaties basically across, people who've never been on boats across the Mediterranean Sea just for a chance to be a second class citizen in France or Italy because it's better than being in the country of your birth. That's something to be proud of. The only and this is what annoys me. Like, if you want to know somebody who was either born into privilege in Nigeria or born here and doesn't know shit about Nigeria, the people who have Nigerian flags in their bios, who are like proud Nigerians, those
Mm-hmm.
aren't real Nigerians. So to the brother earlier who said I should be ashamed of myself, you might be calling the kettle black, because if you actually know about Nigeria, if you actually understand the reality of the 99%, there's nothing to be proud of. And I can go on and on and on and on about tragedy after tragedy that is commonplace in that country. When Trump called it a shithole, that wasn't hyperbole. It is a shithole. I was born in Nigeria in 1993 in Surulere, Lagos. It is a shithole. That's why I'm here. And unless we're willing to admit that and say that and not allow the burner boys, like, and that's why I was so proud of Ibrahim Traore when
Mm-hmm.
Burner Boy offered to do a benefit concert because of all the hype surrounding Burkina Faso. He was like, yo, it's not time for celebration now. It's time for work. But as black folks, we continue to distract ourselves with jubilation and celebration, and it keeps us so easy to manipulate. It keeps us docile. It keeps us distracted because we can't call a thing a thing.
Well, I can say as far as FBA, that's another reason why I'm proud, because through it all, we didn't leave and we stayed. And I'm proud of that. And now we're claiming what is rightfully ours. And that is, to me, it is something to be proud of. I am proud that my mother was one of the first people to integrate her school. I'm glad that my grandmother stayed at countertops when milkshakes was getting thrown at her and my mother, but I'm staying right now because they fought. And they made it where now I have privileges because of what they fought for. And I'm proud of that.
That brings up an interesting question for me.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the FBA, non-FBA distinction, how do you reconcile the 3,000 FBAs who moved to Liberia in the early 1900s? Would they be considered FBA or non-FBA?
No, they'd be considered FBA. They just moved to
What
Liberia.
about what about their descendants today?
Well, if they had kids that's born there, their children are not FBA.
But they would also be descendants of slaves, though.
They're not American.
No. I'm saying like making the FBA distinction.
Yeah, so it is a lineage of Black Americans that are Black Americans that was born here. That's parents that was born here that comes from um, the Moors or descendants of slavery. Again, that's a whole nother group, you know.
Okay, so okay, you're saying like you can be ADOS but not FBA.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're FBA if you're here. If I was to be with another FBA man and we go to Kenya, our kids are going to be Kenyan. They're not going to be American.
Yeah, but they would still be ADOS. They would still be
Okay, they'll be
descendants of
ADOS,
slaves. Yeah. Okay.
but they'll be
Okay.
Kenyan.
Yeah, I mean, I only bring that up because that's an often overlooked fact that like a lot of the people who today are Africans or would be shunned as non-FBA are also descendants of transatlantic slavery on
But
American
not
soil.
American. So like Jamaicans,
Mhm.
you know, Africans got dropped over there, the Caribbean, but they're not FBA.
Yep. Yep. And then I mean you throw Marcus Garvey in there and it makes it even more complicated. Like we are linked. Whether
Well,
we
the
want to
thing is, again, because when you said that we weren't or we don't welcome Africans here as Black Americans, again, I take issue with that because Marcus Garvey wouldn't have been Marcus Garvey if he didn't come here and we didn't welcome him over here. They didn't want him in Jamaica. Marcus Garvey became who he was because we opened our arms to him, which we do all the time. And then we get shitted on. Carmelo Anthony.
Okay.
Literally my top 3 favorite basketball players. And raised by his mother, who is FBA. Dad died when he was little. Wins an award, and who does he think? Puerto Rico. We raised you here. Your mother, your Black mother.
Hold on, somebody just made a good point. It said, with that logic, Kyrie Irving is not FBA. He was born in Australia.
I think Kyrie Irving is FBA.
But you said it's about
He came back. And actually, let's be honest, he wasn't raised in Australia. His parents was over there on a visa because they were working. See, they just don't happen to have the baby, but they came on back.
Okay, so it's about where you're raised, not where you're born.
He's FBA. Okay. He's a good FBA at that. He's a good man. Good man.
He get grandfathered in. That's what you
It's a good man.
No, I'm just like I think it's a good point because some of this stuff starts falling apart as we start getting more technical. Like, you know, this person is that person.
Not necessarily. Like I said, I can't claim to know everything. And what I can tell you is that I know that my family been here for over 500 years. Okay. Now that I do know. And I do know that I'm American. And a proud one of that. Okay. And I love the Lord. I do know that too.
Amen. Amen. All right, let's get to the next video. It's been good. It's been real good. On stage.
Americans, 13%, maybe 54 million, right? If these abilities you keep naming, that you can build a country like America, you can invent all the things. Why the people from whom you came, why are they not doing it?
Because they don't got the same pedigree as the black people in America are the richest black nation on earth. We're the most successful black nation on earth. We can't leverage resources like they do in Africa. We built.
I'm asking about the ability for you to do the things he listed. Why are they not doing them on the continent? If it's
I can't speak of the continent. I can only speak about black Americans in this country. Like this is what we did in this country with less resources, with less, and we still accomplished more than anybody in the diaspora.
African Americans, 13%, maybe 54 million, right? If these abilities you keep.
So
you don't like. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's the part you don't like when he talked about we have the best pedigree.
Because I think that's not true. I think one of the, ironically, learning about African American history was my gateway to learning about colonialism and African history. I think that, to the point I made earlier, I think a mistake that a lot of Africans make is being uneducated about African American history, Black history. I think a mistake that African Americans make is being uneducated, and Caribbeans as well, being uneducated about African history. I don't think the average person understands what colonialism is and was. So when he speaks to part of the reason y'all were able to create Black Wall Streets here and Black folks weren't doing that on the continent is because Black folks here have a higher pedigree. That is Hutu and Tutsi talk. That is because y'all had the stamp of approval or participation of white folks, you were better than your fellow Black folks. That is me being here and being able to code switch, thinking that I'm better than the dude I went to elementary school with when I was in Nigeria, simply because he didn't have this opportunity. So I think that's dangerous. But I think Frank's overarching point was we have some of the same challenges. We have some of the same disposition. And we have the same reflex to pathologize ourselves and exalt ourselves as to the reasons why we were able to do X or weren't able to do Y. And there are a lot of things that Africans have accomplished. There are a lot of things Black folks have accomplished. There are a lot of ways Africans have inspired Black progress here. There are a lot of ways, like I gave the example, African Americans have inspired Black progress on the continent. And I think the clearer we are on those things, I think the more sophisticated conversations we can have about unity and a shared interest, which is stamping out white supremacy. But I think as we continue to like other ourselves and then create hierarchies within those othering, like this group has a higher pedigree than this group, I think we're playing right into the hands of our oppressors and the people who exploit those distinctions that we like to make.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the pedigree thing. I don't see as one being better than the other. I just say we're just different. And I do believe that we can respect each other's differences and still have a common enemy, which would be white supremacy. But we can do that and acknowledge our differences, our cultural difference, our different backgrounds. Two things happen simultaneously.
You know my theory?
What is that?
I've noticed that some of the most pro-Black people, like militant pro-Black people you're going to meet are light-skinned. And whenever I talk to them about it or ask them about it, like the Angela Davises and the whole nine, part of what they've told me is that because of their proximity to whiteness, phenotypically and also like literally, because sometimes they've got white.
Yeah, they're majority, they're mixed.
Right. Like sometimes they got white family members. They are more familiar with white pathology than we are.
Mm-hmm.
So like black folks know white people are bad. Light skinned folks and mixed people, they know exactly how bad they are. I
Mm-hmm.
think similarly, African Americans relative to Africans have a closer proximity to white people. Right. So when we talk about on the continent, when we talk about white supremacy, it's a nebulous, nondescript thing that we can't really tangibly hold. But when
Mm-hmm.
y'all talk about it here, y'all have looked it in the face. Like y'all live
Yeah.
with it, right? Y'all live literally in the house or in the house next to the house.
Mm-hmm. Took care of
Um,
the kids, fed
to
them.
get a kid, you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think rather than this pedigree thing distinction, I think the real distinction is proximity. Y'all have a familiarity with the reality of white supremacy that we don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which again created our worldview
Mm-hmm.
because what I have seen is that there's a lot of Africans that look at whiteness as something special.
Mm.
Like I can't tell you, makes me sick to my stomach when I see videos of white people landing in Africa and fucking Africans give them all kind of dance and bowing.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, if you don't get your ass up, do you
yeah,
know these white people don't deserve nothing?
yeah.
Then they over there to steal because that's what they're good at.
See, they don't
So
know.
our proximity is
Mm-hmm.
we understand who they are. And we want them to leave us the hell alone. When you, not you particularly, but how Africans, they want to be immersed with them. And it's odd. And even trying to correlate it with us trying to unite and be together, you guys entertain and love and want to be like the ones that lynched us. So it's not a closeness when you want to be around our common enemy.
Do you know why? There's a popular saying in Nigeria. It goes, "No wonder the devil is black." We believe the devil is black,
Mm-hmm.
and for all intents and purposes, like I alluded to earlier, we don't understand the art of war, so we don't understand like covert um, domination, right?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite books is The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the examples, it's a book about, for those of you guys watching, it's a book about like as a prince or an oligarch, how to seize and maintain power. And basically it's a narcissism for dummies. Basically that's what the book is about. And one of the examples it gives is as a prince, if you want to seize control of a village, you send your most brutal and your most vicious general to that village and you give him free range. You let him loose. Tell him to rape, pillage, kill, steal, the whole nine. And once he has secured control of that village, you ride into the village, and your first order of business is to publicly execute that general. Because now the people will view you as their savior rather than their oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
When I say black folks don't understand the art of war, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we see is white missionaries. What we see is white priests and a white pope. What we
Mm-hmm.
see is a white Jesus. What we see is the guy who was campaigning for Coney. Coney was it 2012?
Mm-hmm.
So our entire concept of whiteness is savior, and our entire concept of it's just like in the hood. Like people in the hood aren't worried about mass shooters; they're worried about the blood around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on the continent. I'm not worried about white supremacy and you know Jews or the stock market. I'm worrying about my neighbor who's a mechanic, right? So it's so much deeper than just like white is right. It's like literally my entire concept of whiteness is saviorhood,
The Great White Hope.
the great white hope.
And ours is completely different. That's why Farrakhan always called them the white devils. This is
Yeah.
completely different.
Yep.
And it's always interesting where, I was watching like the Piers Morgan and Nick Fuentes interview, and how it's so always talking about black people, black people, black people. We so bad and racist, but you can't keep us out your stinking mayo mouths. And they won't leave us alone.
They can't afford it. They can't afford to. That's the thing. Like, I'm at a place in my pro-blackness where I'm like, I get it. Because if I was the white institutions, I wouldn't leave us alone either. It's not in my best interest to leave us alone. It's really not. Like, why? If let's say I'm the white power structure,
Mm-hmm.
if I leave black people alone, I die. That's the reality we as black folks have to deal with. Like, they can't play fair because they have to. We have to be on our knees for them for them to be tall.
Mm-hmm.
Like we haven't gotten that in our. I think black folks here understand that a little bit better because to your point earlier, there's a proximity and a familiarity. On the continent, we don't understand like the game that's actually being played. We think it's just a matter of, if we can show them we're good, and we can show them, it's good business dealing, and invest in Africa, that things will get better. Nah, this is not. This is Battleship, and we fucking playing Connect Four.
So again, when I said earlier how I started kind of being more into I'm FBA and damn it, it was because of that. I couldn't believe how many people that I was on panels with or having discussions that just begged for white validation, and how people was just willing to degrade themselves, their women, for whiteness. It was disgusting. And that's when I started figuring out I am not around Black American people because we don't look at white folks like that generally. You'll have a coon here and there, but that's why we will roast their ass. But generally, we don't do that. And that's why, like I said, for a while, I was like, what is wrong with me? And it was because they can't relate because they want the white respect.
Yep.
And me, I loathe it.
That's good. That's because you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually submit that we should be graceful with them. Only because, have you seen The Matrix?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the dude who sold out the whole team because he wanted a steak?
Yeah.
The more I think about that, like that plot point in The Matrix, like your mind doesn't understand the difference between a real steak and a fake steak because the same parts of your brain is stimulated. So it's continue to live in this delusion where I get the enjoyment of a steak. It's a fictional steak, but a steak nonetheless.
Yeah.
Or wake up out of this coma and eat slop. I think our expectation that people should be willing and enthusiastic to wake up out of the coma and eat slop is unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
Most people ain't built for that. That's why revolutionaries are set apart. And I think the more graceful we are in that understanding, the more we can heavily invest in institutions to insulate our revolutionaries. I think, we forget that Dr. King didn't want to die. Right? Like I've talked about losing work because of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this martyrdom idea we have about people who are going to be our revolutionaries, not only is it counterproductive, but it's unsustainable. Because unless we're willing to create institutions that, brother, you ain't got to work. brother, you're gonna have 24-hour security. Brother, you're gonna have a network of people to insulate you so you can do your work. Same as Garvey had, same as King had up until his assassination, same as Farrakhan has had all these years. Unless we're willing to do that, we cannot, in good faith, expect rational, sane, intelligent people to be crash outs because that's what's necessary. You have to be willing to put your life on the line. But I have a daughter. So, like, even if I was willing to be a crash out, she needs a dad. That's not fair to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I think that as Black people, as we have these conversations, it's incumbent upon us to become more sophisticated about the institutions we create, internal institutions we create to insulate and to incentivize the behavior we want to see at scale, or else we'll have more and more people who will rather stay in the matrix and eat their steak. I don't blame that brother. You can't blame that
Yeah.
brother. Okay.
I don't know. I think we've given too much grace. And I think it's grace in giving people like that grace that got Fred Hampton killed. It's that grace that set up the Black Party Panther for it to be dismantled. I think we should be out of grace and start fucking shit up. That's what I want to do.
I know. It's romantic, though.
I'm a sweet gal.
It's romantic. All right, let me play another one.
Okay.
Americans, 13%, maybe 54 million, right? If these abilities you keep naming, that you can build a country like America, you can invent all the things. Why?
Civilization here.
Yeah,
I'm stunned how you were happy for the colonizers.
you got me wrong.
Okay.
I never said I'm happy for the call. I said they left too soon. Things were not particularly or better in place before they left. I mean, they came too early and left too soon. Things were not in place before they left. And the structure that they laid for us were not actually in place before they left. That's why I said they left too soon. I didn't say I'm happy about their coming.
Okay, but you wish that they would have stayed longer.
They would have stayed longer to ensure that the people that they were grooming are actually mature to run their affairs themselves.
But do you think the colonizers cared?
Of course they do.
You think the colonizers give a damn about Africa and Africans?
Of course they do. If they don't, they wouldn't come to ensure our eyes are open to see other things that we're enjoying today. So even
like what? What benefit did the colonizers bring?
The exposure is one of the benefits.
The exposure of what?
Yes, it's something of life. And you now know how to dress better, on how to think, on how to travel and other things. These are the ideas the colony brought. Otherwise, we would not know. So our eyes are now open to see things that are meant to be superficial or beyond somebody's imagination, but we cannot see it. So these are the benefits of the colony.
Okay, so the colonizers helped you dress better and eat better and travel, and they brought their languages.
They brought exposure to us.
Exposure.
Yes.
So before the white man, Africa was unexposed.
Yes, it's not a news.
Is Africa not the original man? Is Africa not the one who spread civilization across the world? Are the Moors not the people who went over to Spain to show them how to cook their meat and how to light fire?
Yeah, but they were not the people who spread civilization. It was the white people that spread civilization.
Were there not 15 dynasties that existed? Was Timbuktu not a thriving? Oh my goodness. Were there not 15 dynasties that existed thriving in Africa before the colonizers came? Did they not come and destroy Timbuktu and any semblance of any type of educational system or forum here in this land? Did they not destroy the books and the culture and the history? You think that the white man brought civilization here?
Yeah, but then they didn't destroy our culture. We destroyed our culture ourselves. They set a tomb for the culture. We destroyed it ourselves.
You think that the white man brought civilization here?
I know you got thoughts.
That is so sad.
Let me hear 'em.
The white people ain't bring no damn civilization. We've had it before, white folks. Matter of fact, before we helped them by creating America, they was over there eating each other. We civilized them. That's why they have us raise their children, because they can't. I looking at the reading about like the Victorian era and their particular look then, because they're inbreeds and they brought civilization. They're a culture of uncivilized, cannibal-esque, evil, spirited, destructive people that has ever lived. And that's sad. But again, if you're saying that where I don't know what country he's from.
It sounds Nigerian.
Nigerian. But if you say he doesn't have a culture and there's nothing to be proud of, so it makes sense that he would think that his oppressor opened his eyes and helped him to dress. What kind of foolishness? Like I said, that I just never in my life been around someone with that mentality. And it's scary and it's sad and pathetic. And the sad part is that I know that there's a whole lot of people that think like him.
Is there any potential merit to what he said?
Is there any truth to what he said?
Truth, merit, is there a point to be made or had?
I don't think there's any truth. I think the point is seeing in real life what self-hatred looks like. But no, I don't think anything that he said is true. And I'm standing on business on that.
Okay.
What you got to say? Something that's different than me, I know. Well, Courtney, I'll think.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we are aligned that the first thing I felt was sadness.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I felt was annoyed by Tanya TKO.
You was annoyed by her?
Yeah. I think her posture is generally my issue with certain groups of people, and I'm not going to say FBA is at scale or even like feminists, for instance, at scale, but there's like it was clear she wasn't listening to understand. She was listening to rebut. Right. It was clear she wasn't listening to learn. She was listening to teach. And I think that self-righteousness is a problem. It's clear that the brother wasn't sophisticated in his delivery of his point. But I think that there is something there to chew on as far as like what we have to reconcile as a people. And I have no like misgivings about who white people are. I understand that when the French, for instance, left certain parts of Africa after colonization, they poured concrete into the sewers. Right? They took even their spoons. Right? I understand the level of petty white people are.
Evil.
But I also understand that what Africa was prior to colonization was not optimized for global competition. And white people's reality being a reality of competition, even like from their Neanderthal beginnings onward, their desire for conquest, because what we fail to realize sometimes is like the Faustian bargain of reality. A lot of the best, greatest inventions and innovations that have happened in history were a consequence of war. MRIs that detect cancer and the mastectomies, all that good stuff. That is radiology, which was a consequence of war. The internet was invented by the military. Like it's hard to distinguish between like a lot of the great things that came out of really evil things. And I say that to say, in our moral superiority as Africans, in our developmental complacency as Africans, like I was watching a documentary about Shaka Zulu and how the first attempt that white people made to conquer the Zulu Empire, they failed. But then the guy who was doing the documentary, he talked about how the next time that the white people came, Shaka and his men did the exact same thing. And they lost. Right?
Yeah.
And you can see that even on a small scale, you can see it with athletes. You can see it with boxers. How like this guy might be the better talent, but the inferior strategist. And I say all that to say, I think some merit in his point was we can do better by familiarizing ourselves with this strategic superiority that white people have leaned into. That I think African Americans understand because of your proximity to them, but Africans don't understand. And that's why we can't even maintain our own institutions, because our idea of maintenance isn't for a greater good or greater purpose or like a path forward, which is why a lot of our institutions fall apart. So again, his delivery was unsophisticated. It was self-hating, the whole nine. But I think there is something there.
I didn't get that. That's what he was trying to get at all. And I think he delivered it just fine. He doesn't believe that he'd get any kind of opportunities if white people wasn't in or around him. And a lot of people think that. And I
do you know that Nigeria imports tomato paste?
No.
Nigeria exports tomatoes and imports tomato paste. Nigeria exports petroleum and imports gasoline. So what he's saying from a ground level view is not off. Now, we can get more sophisticated and say, that's because Shell and BP have sabotaged any Nigerian efforts to establish and maintain refineries on the continent because it's not in their best interest. We can go deep and talk about that. But the reality is, although the truth is that the world should be reliant on Africa, Africa is actually reliant on the world. Coltan the Congo exports coltan but imports cell phones. That's it's fucked up, but like from where he's sitting, that's the reality. So his point of view is probably like, we need these white people to show us how to build a refinery, because he doesn't understand the other stuff. But what he sees is, why the fuck are we exporting oil and importing petroleum and gasoline? That's because we don't know any better. But the not knowing any better isn't necessarily the process, but we don't know the mechanism behind it. Because again, we're not participating in this capitalistic game as Neanderthals. but you're not going to beat a Neanderthal if you don't fight like one.
Yeah.
I remember there was and I love using this analogy. There's this jujitsu practitioner. His name is what's his name? He has white hair. Gordon Ryan. He's like the best jujitsu guy in the world. And his coach, he's got a PhD in something, but he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan asked him, or not Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman asked him, between a lion, a bear, and a gorilla, who would win in a fight. And he said, pretty much broke it down like, the first thing you should do is ignore your first instinct, because most people might go to the biggest animal, which is the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Most people might go to the most ferocious animal, which is the lion. Most people might go to the strongest animal, which is the gorilla. People don't know, out of those three animals, the one with the strongest bite force is the vegetarian. The gorilla has the strongest bite force out of those three. The bear is the biggest, but he actually said he thinks the lion would win. Why does he think the lion would win? Because number one, gorilla fights only last a couple seconds, and most of the time it's just bluff. They're just beating their chest and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're the most powerful of the three, they're not accustomed to fighting. Bear fights last long, but they don't really do damage to each other. He said, but the lions, when a new male lion enters a pride, the first thing he does is kill the existing male lion and kill all his offspring. And once he kills all his offspring, the female lion immediately goes into heat. Stasis, I think it's called ovulation. So if you're the existing male lion and you see another nigga coming, like, it's kill or be killed, because if I die, my kids die too. So his point was lions routinely fight to the death. Gorillas don't do that, and bears don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I liken that to humans as well. Ironically, I think white people are lions. I think we are gorillas. We are the superior physical specimen, but we're not about that life. We just not. If we were, we would be something to mess with, but we not about that. And we got to come to terms with that.
I agree with you. And that's why I said we're loving and sweet and caring people, but it has been to our detriment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I see you getting sleepy. I got to be up for work too. Any last words before we wrap this up, though? This was a good conversation. I think we made a lot of progress. I think you're not as dogmatic as you were in the beginning. I think you're embracing of us fake Africans, you know what I'm saying? Us disgraces, you know what I'm saying? So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. It's progress.
Well, I could calm down a little bit.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. Yeah, you light skinned, so I know y'all be hot about whatever you're passionate about. Yeah, I get it.
I am fried chicken color. Okay.
Right. Why? That's my last question. Why do light skinned people not want to be light skinned? Y'all always making distinctions. I'm honey bun. I'm caramel. I'm this.
Listen, a light skinned woman is like Alicia Keys. That's light skin. I'm caramel.
Hold on.
I'm honey complexion.
Okay. I just want to pull up a picture of Alicia Keys so we can compare in real time. Alicia Keys. Okay. Let us pull up a picture of Alicia Keys and see how light skinned you are.
Not. Now. I put it back. You're so stupid. She has a tan in that picture. Okay. She likes to travel with Swiss beads. So stupid. Get back. Okay.
I just wanted to, I just wanted to see. I
Yeah.
just wanted to see. To the untrained eye, y'all look about the same color, but I
Hell
understand.
no.
I don't really know nothing. I get it. I get it. Well,
Aw.
I appreciate you, darling. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your curiosity. I think this was a good conversation.
Me too. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the invite. And I've never called you that slur.
What's slur?
Hello.
Oh, tell it. People call me that.
Well, I know.
Yeah,
Oh,
people
before
call
you
me that.
go, I was thinking like before when we were doing a lot of shows together. Oh, they couldn't. Oh, you was every Nigerian in the book, boy.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Yeah.
on you heavy. What? Why is that?
I don't know. I'm officially Kenyan for real. Like I've renounced being Nigerian. So yeah, call me a Kenyan booty scratcher from now on. I don't know.
No, I think you're
Mm.
awesome, and I love you, and we need to do this again.
Okay. For sure. For sure. We'll do it on your channel next time.
Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna change Nigerian to FBA ally.
Okay, and I'll change mine to tether hugger.
Yep. Tether hugger. Okay.
I got you.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Anyway,
Appreciate you, darling. Have a good night.
love you, boo.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you for bearing with the technical issues that persisted because I see my screen keeps glitching. Thank you guys for your attention. Thank you guys for your comments. Hopefully, this was an interesting conversation. Hopefully, y'all got as much out of it as I did. Yeah, thank you. Comment with topics that you think me and Courtney and me and other people can cover in the future. Stay tuned. Like I said, follow us on Instagram if you haven't already, Facebook if you haven't already. Like this, share this. I'll actually be doing another stream Thursday. One of the girls from Pop the Balloon reached out. So me and her are gonna have a conversation. That's gonna be good. Don't miss that. That'll be this Thursday. I'll put up the thumbnail shortly after this. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. And I'll keep being a terrible Nigerian. But shout out to my Nigerian brothers and sisters as well. Y'all take care. Have a good evening, and I will see you Thursday. All right. Peace.